And we are on. You are watching Coaching Chats with Marina and Caroline.
I'm Marina Baranowski of the Coaching Marina.
And I'm Caroline Day from Safe Data Change. Welcome.
Welcome, welcome.
We're so excited about this episode. It's our
Yeah.
episode 4, and it's a very hot topic about relationships. Marina.
What we wanted versus what we have.
Ooh. Is it
Ooh.
very different for you or same? What you wanted versus what you
What
have?
I wanted and what I have now, same. But it took a long time to get there. So,
Oh, yay. Yeah, I didn't know what I wanted. My husband would say that. He would be like, "You don't know what you wanted." I thought I wanted things, but then I got, much better than what I thought I wanted. I
Oh,
didn't know what I deserved. Let's just say that.
oh, that's
And
big.
yeah.
Yes. Wow. Wow. Okay. Right out of the gate. Coming in hot. Coming in hot. Okay. When thinking about this specific topic, it came to mind that when I was a kid growing up in the 80s and even early 90s, my version of what I thought a relationship should look like, or the feeling what a relationship should look like, came from the movies. It was,
Mm.
16 Candles, or Jake Ryan, or just this really this version of love that is so accepting and so encompassing, that it wasn't just a surface level love, that there was a deep connection. And the
Mhm.
movies seem to do that for me.
So like the love stories.
Love stories, loved love
Mhm.
stories.
What was it growing up at your house, in your house?
Not
What
that.
was love?
Um, in Within my reality, excuse me, my parents, weren't very affectionate, and they weren't very, it was a very, it's difficult to describe, but it was like the relationship was a business.
Mm.
They ran the house. Each one
Action.
of them had their own responsibility in taking care of us. But as far as affection is concerned, I didn't see that between them. There was very few times that I saw affection between them. They kept it pretty much to themselves, so it wasn't an outwardly thing. So when in searching for what I wanted in a relationship, I knew I always wanted affection and craved, that attention from that level. So when I would watch a movie and I would see these love stories, I would be like, oh yes, I love this, the music swelling and the embracing, and just I really enjoyed the connection that these characters would have. So when sitting down to try to go, this is what I want in a relationship, um, I didn't know that it was something that you needed to work on, that it would automatically just be there if you were with the right person.
Mm. Okay.
So, it took a little bit of growing, a lot of growing and maturing to understand that relationships aren't built like that in the movies. What about
So
you?
when did you find that out? Like, so was it okay to have boyfriends? Let's start with that. Like, how was
Or
your,
yeah, no, I wasn't really allowed to have boyfriends until I was about 15 or so. But it wasn't really allowed to go out on dates. So a lot of what happened growing up was like, okay, your boyfriend, girlfriend, okay, it was just like a title. You would see each other in school, And then that would be it. Like you wouldn't go out or anything. You just would have these boyfriend girlfriend titles and you would either hold hands or, so really nothing was happening along those lines generally. Until I got a little bit older, that's when I was able to um, just spend, even if it's a few hours with that person. And like I had mentioned before, I lived across the street from a mall, so it was easy to just walk across the street and meet, some of my friends or meet that person there. So
That must have been nice. Okay.
yeah.
When was the idea? Because you said I really love the stories in the movies. When did you say I want, the same story in the movie? Was it more like your first love or
First love is very interesting because I feel like you do learn a lot from that first love. You want it to be so much like that, where there's a lot of emotion and that, I love yous, and, you just don't know what to do. You don't have the emotional intelligence and how to handle these things properly. So you kind of act like a buffoon for a while, and you just you know
yeah,
you just if that person is reciprocating with the word, you're like, great, then I'm loved, how amazing this is. You're not connecting on an emotional level generally. So I always my first experience with having a boyfriend, lasted for a long time because I thought that's what you do. Even when things got difficult, even when there were arguments and problems, it never occurred to me to be able to break up with this person.
oh
Really.
wow.
So I would endure so much within these relationships
Mhm.
because that's what you do. I watch, I have a lot of examples where I see difficult things happening in these relationships and they're enduring. I can endure, so I ended up staying in places when I shouldn't have. I ended up enduring things when I should have. This is definitely a part of my experiences, which I'm grateful for, definitely, because I learned a lot from them. But had I had a better example or a forethought as to what I really wanted in the relationship, not the movie version, the the real, you know, guts of it. What do I really want out of a relationship? I think things would have gone very, very differently, for sure.
Mm. Wow, interesting.
I
What
know
else?
it's a lot. So,
Yeah.
so for my first experience, I was young. I was 15 or so, when I first had my first quote unquote boyfriend. But like I said, I stayed a little bit too long. I endured behavior and that I would never want anyone to endure. And that started off a chain of events, that led through, pretty much to my divorce. So, this is, I
The
know,
person you marry? No.
no, no,
Oh, okay. Okay.
no. But every relationship that I had gone into, I went into it with the idea that this was it.
Hmm.
And I didn't look at it. It didn't matter who this person was, as long as they reflected back to me what I thought that I wanted, which was I needed to be loved. There's
Hmm.
this big, I need to be loved, not appreciated, not respected, not, I wish that was the case, but I just wanted to be loved.
Mm. What do you think love was to you before?
The
What
idea
about?
of love was that someone wanted me and that someone needed me,
Mm.
and that was it. There was nothing behind that. Is if as long as you wanted and needed me, then I that was love to me. So after, after some time and in going through some of these experiences, you sit and you go, I don't like when this person does this, but I guess that's who they are. So if I am saying that I love them, then I have to love that too, right? That was the that was the thought.
Hmm.
So what happens in when you're talking about just relationships, what you think. So if I'm just going to isolate what I thought in the beginning, it was more than just what the person looked like, because I did have an idea of what I was attracted to, but ultimately I wanted to be told that they loved me. That was the ultimate goal for me.
Which makes sense. You want to hear that you're
Yes, yes, I needed to
right.
be told that I loved, yes.
Yeah.
Can you resonate on some level?
Oh yeah. I'm like, I just want to know more. Yeah, absolutely. I think, like my parents, they were always very affectionate in front of us and very loving towards each other, like growing up. So my parents were, and they're still together. So they were really like all about each other. My dad, even more so. My dad used to be like, my idea of my dad was that he would do anything for my mom, and
Mhm.
they were attached to the hip. So if my dad wanted to go to the farmer's market on Sunday and my mom didn't go, they would start fighting because he doesn't want to go without her. And so, like, it was almost like to me, if I were to translate it to today, with all respect that I have for them, I love them and I think that that's great. But I almost saw like codependence, because they were attached to the hip. But that's what I saw growing up is, like whatever your mom said, like if I asked my mom something, she would say no. I'll go to my dad. What did your mom say? So I couldn't get away with it, like, so they were always on the same page when it comes to raising us. So, and very loving, very affectionate. My dad was always kissing my mom, very affectionate. We were like stop it, but when I had a relationship, I thought it was going to be the same thing. I wanted to be someone be completely all over me. And so I actually had relationships of codependence, you know, because growing up, I kind of saw that. And so I wanted the person to be completely attached to the hip to me, you know, and obviously that's not, at least how I see it, it was not great for me, the fact that I wanted this person all the time available. And people are different, right? You're not going to get that from everybody. It's not necessarily a good thing, but that's what I thought love was. Love is if you're with me 24/7 and you do everything for me, because that's what I saw. My dad doing everything. So guys had to do everything and more for me in order for me to be with them. And so it's very different. But yeah,
It
going
is
back.
different. But it's interesting to me that
Mhm.
your version, like your parents' version of their love, is a different version of your love. And
Well,
that was like to me, I wanted to have a different version of my parents' love, right?
mm,
So that is the way that they loved each other and had an agreement, and how they were. And then I wanted something different
so I wanted to mirror my parents' relationship.
where
You
I
said,
want,
I want everything that is opposite.
yeah,
I want more of what the movies are telling me.
right.
Hmm.
And I didn't grow up around my extended family. We lived in a different area, so we would have to like travel. So I didn't have a lot of other experiences with couples other than maybe what I saw my friends' parents are like, so they were my example. And I was like, that to me does not, like, I knew it didn't align with the way I wanted. So I was like, I'm going to just do something completely different.
Mm.
Not that my way was any better, but but I feel like when you are that young and you set out, you were like, I guess that's how things are supposed to be, right?
Right.
So I'm gonna want that, and
Yeah.
if that doesn't happen, then you don't love me in the same way. Where I
Right.
was like, I need something completely different. I want the complete, if I don't have the exact opposite spectrum of that, then you don't love me. So this is that's really funny that we're going here because everyone's experiences are very, very different and how we internalize things are very, very
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. For sure. Wow. What a perspective. I love this. And then what? And then how did you, I know that you had a first marriage. So talk about like, did you think that that's what you wanted at first?
I followed the same model. So when I met my first husband, I was only 19 years old. So I was very, very young,
Yeah.
just everything, mentally, all of it. And I mirrored the same thing. I wanted to make sure that, we would have the energy of it was that we loved each other. And under that guise, the thing is that my ex-husband is very, very different in the respect that his parents uh, were um, from Italy, direct. So he was like first generation. And his idea of what love is was very different than mine.
Hmm.
So because I felt like, well, I have to do exactly what he says because that's how I get my love. If he's okay, if he loves me because I do the things that he says, then I get that piece that I'm calling love. So I didn't realize what I was doing being that young, following
Hmm.
what it is that the I like to liken it to, the masculine, feminine energies. I fell very, very much into a submissive female energy when I was around him, even though I very much on my natural state embody a very equal masculine, feminine. So I was not in alignment with myself during this time. Um, we had two children. We have two children. And I then fell into the mom role and it just relationship in itself remained the same. And it just very dysregulating the whole time. Didn't realize it. But,
Hmm.
this lent uh many times during this time, this 10-year period of time, maybe it was a little more than that. It was probably more than that. Where I questioned myself. And I know that I had spoken in it before, like during my first marriage was when I found the secret, and ways for me to be happier. I knew that I wasn't happy, I just didn't know how to get
Hmm.
myself out of it. So, um, within this dynamic, within this relationship that I had, um, and again, I'm so grateful for it because I learned so, so much. But communication was not our strong suit. I couldn't communicate to him what I wanted, and he couldn't communicate to me what he wanted. And that left us in a hole. So in the land of what I wanted, like when thinking about it from a kid, that was in no way, shape, or form the version of love or relationship that I wanted. However, when you take a look at the relationship itself, it mirrored a lot of the relationships that I have seen. It became a business. It was, we had the kids, we had, work, we had all of these things. So we didn't take time for our relationship. That entity that brought us together was not taken care of. We just did the business of life together. And so as much as I wanted to be away from that version, that is what I ended up getting,
Mm,
the version I didn't want.
wow. But you realize that.
Yeah, 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 I did.
You're like, that's not what I wanted. I remember I wanted more the 16 Candles move love story and not this story.
Yeah,
This is more the story that was accepted in my household.
yeah.
And then what happened?
Well, um, I will be honest and probably say that I probably would still be there had I not had the door slam in my face.
Wow.
I probably would still have been in that situation because as bad as it was, there was not, there was never a thought in my head that divorce would be an option. So basically, what happened was my ex-husband decided to end things and left no room for any sort of reconciliation. None. And that allowed me, it allowed me to take a really deep dive and a real deep look at what it was that if I were to have another relationship, what I would want. And it was a lot of healing, divorce in itself. And I'm sure we could probably do a whole episode on that alone. Divorce is not an easy topic to one to be part of and deal with. And it
Mm.
takes years for some of us to get through it. However, on the field of relationship, it changed all of my relationships, my divorce. It changed the way that I felt about myself. It changed the way that I felt about my children, my family, and the people around me. And when you have to put the mirror up to yourself and face the hard things, mostly on your own, the support network that was around me, um, some of it was good and some of it was not. I didn't have the mental capacity at that point to, because I was devastated. My whole world completely shifted and changed. Everything about my world was rocked. So, not even considering another relationship, like that wasn't even on the horizon for me mentally. But
Mhm.
I did have a chance and an opportunity to consider if I were to have another relationship, what I would want. And communication was like on the top of the list. Being able to talk to somebody
Mm.
at the very, very least, you know, just to be able to express myself in some way was something that I wanted deeply, to have a connection with someone I wanted.
Yeah, because that was what was going to bring you closer to what you truly wanted from the very beginning.
Right. Yeah. But during that whole
Wow.
time, it's not like I was cognizant. I wasn't aware, and this is where awareness is a huge factor in this. When you are
Mhm.
aware of what it is, one that's going on around you in your present, and also aware of what it is that you actually need and actually want, things change. When you're just going through the motions all the time and every single day, you're not addressing any of your needs. Maybe once in a while you'll hit something like, oh, well, that was nice, but like you are not addressing the things that you need. without
Mm.
starting with the awareness of what it is that you think you need.
And when were you able to become aware? Was it when you got a non-negotiable, this is it? Was that when you're like, okay, now I have to find what it is that I want?
Yeah. The way that I likened it was that God, the universe, source was like, I have given you enough hints that this is not where you're supposed to be. And now I'm going to have to close this door, not close this door. I'm going to have to slam this door. I'm going to have to lock this door. I'm going to have to weld this door shut that you cannot go back here in order for you to be able to move forward. That's how it felt. It's like when you are removed from your situation and you have a welded door and you cannot go back there, the only option that you have is to turn around and go forward. And I'm grateful that that was a thing because there's a lot of us who don't have that option. That the dangling of the carrot of, well, if you change, you can come back. I didn't have any of that. It was like it was slam shut, and I needed that.
Hmm.
And that is definitely something that I'm super grateful for.
Do you think at some point you asked for that?
Yeah. I mean,
Did you find the
and
secret?
through the secret, and again, like I was saying, I'm asking for happiness. I'm asking for my version of happiness, which included peace, which included not having and being in this, you know, pressure boiling, super stressful situation. That it needs to be removed in order for you to be able to move forward and find that happiness, that peace. So I at the time didn't think of it as a blessing. I thought of it as like, you know, I'm asking for happiness. This is making me happy, and I pulled back on always having it in the back of my head, but I did pull back on the manifesting and stuff. I definitely was like, well, if this is what this is, then but these are gifts. When you are even if you don't exactly know what happiness is, the universe does and God does. And so you can just, put enough trust and faith. And that is what I needed to do at that moment, is to put enough trust and faith that whatever does come next is going to be for my highest and best good.
Hmm. That's beautiful. I mean, I do think, I mean, if you really go within, you do know what you want.
Yeah.
People think that they don't know what they want, but if you really go within, like you said, you had an idea of what it is that you wanted
Yeah.
and your version of happiness, you just didn't have it. And you kept asking for it and asking for it. And the only way for you to even have an opportunity to go seek what it is that you love and happiness means to you was if that door was completely shut,
Right.
because that was not the path to your kind of happiness.
Right.
Wow.
You want to know
But
how?
then there's more.
Yes, and then there's more. Then there's more. I spent a lot of time kind of floundering around after the divorce and really seeking, more physical gratification, using, alcohol or, other substances to just try to mask whatever it was that was going on. And that was a short period of time because that was in alignment with me, so I was like, I needed to be done with all of it. So I went through that process. And then there was this moment where I went back and said, I'm ready. I'm ready to move past this somehow. I'm ready to take at least the first baby step to getting my life the way that I want it. And and again, in beautiful divine timing, beautiful divine timing, my current husband shows up in my life. Now, I know I've told you our story, but I love our story. And, it is, I don't know, he gives me so much joy. So anyway, I'll start with the beginning, which was that when we dated when I was 16, um, for a very short period of time. And then he never really left me. So it was like when I was 18, we dated again, but we lived in different towns and, it didn't really work out. And then maybe like 21 or so, we saw each other again. He always was there and what I love about our story is like, wherever he was, wherever we were just always so close. Like when he was born in Brooklyn, I was in Queens, and then when we moved to Long Island, he was in Kings Park and I was in Huntington. Like we were all these really close, towns. I know you don't know where they are, but like we were
Oh,
always like half an hour away from each other. And then we moved out east. I was, in Farmville and he was in like Holbrook. We were always very, very close to each other, whether we were together or not. And I knew him and I knew his family. And when he reached out to me again after this, he was also going through a divorce. So we just happened to, when we got back together, we were like, this it this just works. And even in the small things, and this is what I talk about a lot, which is like the small things matter to me. It may not matter to others, but to me, the small things. And the first time I really knew that this was something that could be amazing, and I know this is very small, but the first time that we hung out together, we were sitting on the couch and he asked me if I wanted a glass of water. And I got up so I can get myself a glass of water. And he goes, "What are you doing?" He got up and he goes, "I asked you for a glass of water. Sit down. I'll get it for you." The mind blown of like he actually wanted to do something for me
mm.
was the first indication that I was not being taken care of, that someone is willing to take care of me, even if it is just getting a glass of water. And that was the first sign of you can have something different.
That is a beautiful story. I love your story. Yeah, because you finally got care, which you really enjoyed, right?
Yeah.
So if you were to describe it, like what's the difference between what you thought you wanted versus what you really wanted? What would it be?
Friendship. I really
Friendship
wanted
is what you
friendship.
really want.
I really wanted someone that um, would be there for me, like a friend.
Mhm.
I don't know, like if you go through, like if I went through all of my relationships, friendships, and stuff like that, I was always so good to my friends and always there to listen to my friends and not so much to my spouse. And when you break it down, what everyone is really looking for the most part, is friendship. You want a companion. You want someone that you can do life with, someone that is going to be your support, your rock. I'm not saying like everything's perfect and you don't have arguments and stuff like that, but being able to have a conversation about what's going on like you would a friend.
Mm,
And that is what I wanted. I wanted someone that was going to be my friend, my best friend.
mm. Wow, what a journey.
Yeah. Right?
I love how different we are. It's like amazing. This was meant to be, you know, talking about perfect timing. That's a beautiful story. I love your story. My story was so different, like I said, because I saw so much love at the house always. And I knew it was just, I knew that I was always going to have love. It was just how much love I was going to get or not. But I always almost like demanded of myself, like it invisibly, like it wasn't like I was asking, or demanding it, but there's something about me that I was like, I'm always going to have it. That it was
Like you
this
always
no,
knew, right?
yeah.
It was
It
like,
was like, it's not a matter of who, it's a matter of when. It was very, but because I knew what love and dedication looked like, you know what I mean? And so, but for me, I think, you know, my very first relationship, serious relationship, it was definitely not what I wanted. Like you said, like it never is. You're so in love, or you think that's like love because it comes in so hard, it comes out of nowhere. It's so big. You don't know what to do with it, right? But for me, like I wanted this person to do everything for me. And I mean everything. If you don't do everything if you don't drop everything to come do what I ask you, you're not a good boyfriend. I'm going to go look for somebody else. And so I was very demanding. Like, it was like, you have to think the world of me. Otherwise, you're not worthy of me, you know? And so it was obviously not good. In fact, it wasn't a relationship. I had someone working for me. I was dating my maid, like it was not great, for either one of us, because that's not love, right? And so that definitely didn't work out. We got to a point where, and we were young, like 18, 19. And so after that relationship, I went into another one that was really toxic, but it was the relationship that I learned that that's not a relationship.
wow.
I started demanding things and asking for things. The person's like, who do you think you are? Like, that's not how a relationship works. I don't know if you know how a relationship works, but this is not it. And so the second relationship put me in place, but in a good place. It was like things are not one way. You know what I mean? Things are both ways. It goes both ways. It's not just you. It's not all about you. It's not you getting what you want all the time. It's both people getting what they want. It's you giving, receiving, and giving. It's not just one way. Life is not like that. And so this person kind of like woke me up to like, wow, this is more what I want. Because it was always yes, yes, yes. And then the second person was like, no. And I'm like, what do you mean no? And so for me, and it was very hard because this was a person that taught me emotional intelligence a lot more. Like I had zero emotional intelligence. It was, you get me or I'm out type of person. Like, and then this person kind of showed me like that this is what respect looks like,
Yeah.
that you take and you give and it's both ways. But at the same time that he was awesome with me, he was not a good person. And so because I stayed because it was the first level of maturity that I met. And I was really attracted to this level of maturity where you're teaching me how to be in a relationship, but you don't know how to be in any other social relationship or anything like that. So it was very hard for me to stay because this person was one person with me, someone else with other people.
Yeah.
And it became very hard to justify staying in the relationship, because I was so attracted to this, like, you're teaching me so much. Like, I'm learning different ways of relationships. But it was really bad. It was very, very bad. And it got to a point where I was like, I can't stay with you. And one of the things that happened was, again, I was brought up very religious in a Catholic church. And so every single boyfriend I had, I used to take them to church. They were not religious. And it will be the first thing in the relationship. I will bring them to church. And they will go to church every Sunday until they broke up with me. And then they would never showed up at church again. And so it was very like, just because I'm with her, not because I love the idea of, going to church. And so when I started dating my husband, I promised myself, I'm not going to do this time. I want the person to have their own wishes and I want to have my own. I'm not going to drag this person into a relationship. I mean, into a
Sure.
relationship with God, right? Like this is my relationship and I don't want this person to pretend like to be in it just because I want it. I'll do everything you want. I don't want this anymore. I want the person to have their own thing. But then I told my husband, it was so funny. It was a Wednesday, and of course I forgot the name of Ash Wednesday. It was Ash Wednesday, and I told my boyfriend, now husband, like, oh, I'm gonna go to church tonight. It's Ash Wednesday, and he goes, "Can I come with you?" I was like, what? Because I told myself I was not going to invite anybody anymore. Like, and so he's like, I want to come with you. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, I want to come with you. And so he went with me to church. And I learned obviously that he also grew up Catholic. And it was just natural. It wasn't me telling him to go to church. It was a guy that actually, like his family, was religious as well. Didn't go to church as much as my family, but. And so there were certain things because I had two different types of relationship before him. I felt like it was the perfect preparation for the next relationship. I knew what I wanted, what I didn't want it. I knew what I was doing that was wrong. Now I didn't have to do it. And so it was almost like perfect timing for me to be in a real relationship because I had already gone through like massive toxic relationships, but also I learned what I was doing wrong as a relationship and what I wasn't doing, like what I was doing right. So it was perfect timing.
Back to
Yeah.
timing, right? It's like really good, divine timing.
Yeah.
It's really interesting how something that you put away where you're like, I'm not going to force them to go to church. I'm not going to force them to do this. And then the instance that he was like, I want to go, it was like bing, like I like that. Like
What do
that's
you mean you want to
attractive.
go?
That is a very attractive feature. I enjoy that. That is being true to you, and when you're with someone that you like, you start off liking them. There's big download. Okay, basically the liking someone and loving someone. That is a big thing that I had trouble with. In the world of I love yous, there's a lot of time where you don't like that person. So I had to learn that it is okay to not like things about each other, but to still love each other so much. And there is a difference between the two. So when I'm working with someone who is having difficulty within their relationship, um, that is the first question that I generally ask is, do you like do you like them? What
Mm.
do you like? Can you specify something that you actually like, about your spouse? And most of the time, there's difficulty. There's always like, oh, he's a good father or he's good. No, no, no. I want to know, like, what do you like about him? Like, what about him? Or what about her? Do you like? And it takes a little bit of time to break down those boxes that we put around people and actually get to the core of who those people are. What do you like about
Mm.
that person in that relationship? So,
What do you like about your husband specifically, about the relationship?
He is the most, um, he's, oh gosh, there's so many things. Okay, so first off, I like that he is a very strong person, that he has his own um, views and likes on things, and that we mirror a lot of that together. So we have that similarity. But I also like that he is able to feel things in real
Mm,
time and for us to be able to discuss those things, and that I am, and we give each other the space to be able to do that. I also like that he's not afraid to be affectionate. He's not afraid to show his love and appreciation to me.
mhm.
So, I mean, I can continue. I mean, like I am I am so very, very blessed with my husband.
Oh, that's great.
Really.
So is that what you think you wanted? Like you also talked about communication, right? You
Yeah.
said I wanted a friend. Is that what you think you wanted, or do you think you wanted friendship? Did you know that you wanted friendship?
I didn't know that I wanted friendship, but when I look back, when I from this standpoint as an adult looking back, that's really what I wanted. I wanted someone who was going to be my person,
Mm-hmm.
someone who was going to listen to me and um, challenge me and want to spend time with me. Not because
Mm-hmm.
they have to, but because they want to, and I needed that kind of attention and safety. So my core need is I need to be safe. And in
Mm-hmm.
this marriage that I have now, I have that safety. I feel completely safe um and within that is my love grows. I'm able to be more me. I'm able to express myself in ways um to him and to others very safely without fear of any sort of judgment. And that is what I really wanted throughout the whole time.
That's powerful. Wow. And congratulations for finding and having what you really want.
It
That's
takes
beautiful.
work. It takes work. This isn't like it just automatically happens. You have to
Mhm.
have willingness within the two people that are involved in this thing that you call a relationship, to be able to come together in this gray area, if you're black and white all the time and you're never meeting, you know, that's not the relationship's missing. The
Mhm.
relationship is what you create out of being two individuals,
Mhm.
and at first, that's not how things were, but we grew into it. We had to look at ourselves and look at each other and say, here's the raw version that I'm feeling. I know this is not going to be very easy to hear, but this is how I'm feeling at this moment. And just leaving the space open to it and not being defensive is the first key. But again, starts with willingness. You can't be one person wanting to have that and the other person not. You need to both go into it and say, I want to work on this. And I want to be that friend to you. I want to be that best friend to you. And with the best friend piece comes the intimacy, comes, a marriage that you build together, not, I have a version of the way I want things and he's got a version of the way he wants things, and you just never twain will mix. So you have to be able to come together and say, this is how we're going to operate today. and just take the baby steps and take those small actions in order to be that safe place for your partner.
That's beautiful. That's really awesome. I am happy that I was able to find the same thing. But then again, like, I think communication was always available at our house. My mom's a social worker. And so we always talked about everything in our house. Communication was very open. And I would see my parents never held back on a frustration or something that was said that needed to be addressed. They never left it for the next day. They addressed it right away. And so we would see that. We would see things being addressed right away in front of us. And so there was no like, oh, let's talk about it tomorrow. And so my relationship, all of my relationships really had a lot of communication. It was just before I felt like love was you do everything for me. And that was not really love. Love is respect, like you were saying earlier. It's really giving and taking. And I think you're right. Like communication is a huge part of your relationship. For me, for example, because I also had this conditioning where, it was very hard for people to take full accountability at home. Like if somebody says you did this, it would be like, yes, but you did this to me, and the fight will go on who did what and how, and you hurt me, but you hurt me more. And one of the things that my husband came in and completely changed the game for me was he takes full accountability of things. And I've never had anybody anywhere, I've never met anybody that was able to take that amount of accountability and hold it. It was strange to me. My fights with exes, for example, was always like, you did it. Yeah, but you did it. It was very like toxic. With him, it was like, you did this and I didn't like it. And he goes, I'm so sorry. You're right. I don't want you to do this ever again. That's fair. I won't. That really, really hurt me. I hear you. I'm so sorry. And I was like, who are you? Like,
Really, who
what?
are you?
And so I thought that was so beautiful.
So
And
beautiful.
I remember telling him, I want you to teach me that. Whatever it is that you just did, I want you to teach me that because that's very hard to do, to
Yeah.
take full accountability. And even to now, like, I think fights don't last long with him because of that. It really doesn't because it's like, you did something. Yes, I'm so sorry. I didn't like it. I know. I'm so sorry. And because you did, you're right. I'm sorry. And it's like, okay. And
Yeah.
so when I do something, it's the same. I want to do the same, like I did something to him. He goes, oh, it's okay. And I go, don't brush it off. I'm sorry. It wasn't okay. I was upset at the time. It wasn't okay for me to treat you like that. I'm really sorry. Because he taught me to take full accountability. And that's really a sign of love. It's really a sign of respect. It's a sign of, I don't want to fight with you. Like, I hear you. I know where you're coming from. And there is no reason for me to hide behind something else. If you did something, you did something, you can move on from it. And that was one of the most beautiful things I've learned in my marriage was to take full accountability for something. I think I'm still second place. I think it's still the best at doing that, but it's really beautiful. It was one of the things that I was just like, wow, I won the lottery.
That is so beautiful. But he gave you that space, right? You gave each other the space to be able to say, I did something wrong,
Yeah.
and I'm sorry. And him go, yeah, you did something wrong. Like there was no retaliation for admitting it. And within that space where you're not attacking each other for just saying, I'm sorry
Yeah.
is so good and so healing because most of the things that you can argue about are very small things and in the grand scheme of all of life and just to be able to say I know that I said something in the heat of an emotion, and I just want to let you know that I didn't mean it, or, I just want you to know that I know that that hurt you. Just being able to acknowledge and validate those things is just a beautiful space to be in. So I congratulate you. I mean, I'm so happy that he was that way for you? Because that's pretty much how my husband is with me. He taught me that as well. That it is taking the onus of his part in in the argument or in the situation. And I think sometimes he blames himself a little more than he should, but I think that just being able to say, I did something, I did a thing, and I'm sorry, or I did a
Yeah.
thing, and I just want to let you know that I understand how you feel about this. It's just a beautiful thing, and I don't think people do it enough.
Oh no, people don't do it at all sometimes.
No,
Like there's just so much gaslighting going on in the world. You say something, it's like, oh, you're making this up, or, you know, that didn't happen, or, you know what I mean? Like there's so
I
much
do.
going on. We've
Yeah.
all lived through it, right? Like, and I think that that's why it's so beautiful because it's one of the hardest things is to be completely vulnerable.
Well, like you're
And
saying,
normally,
deflecting.
right.
Deflecting the situation. Well, you did this. Well, you did that the last week. So I mean, this being able to not, succumbing to that urge of, trying to blame each other for things. It shows beautiful sign of emotional intelligence, and I think that's wonderful.
Yeah. When you said that, it reminded me of another thing that we kind of come to agree was you're only allowed to bring things within 1 year.
Oh,
So
you have rules.
that's only because, I mean, I grew up in a family where people could bring it things that you did 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that is just not healthy at all, right? And so we have established that if you are still sad about something, you're allowed to mention it for only 1 year. If it's past 1 year, you're not allowed to mention it, even if you have
I
negative.
love that rule. I think I should establish that rule with some of my family members, for goodness sake. Yes,
What I'm saying, yeah.
it is a
Because
great
or
rule.
they will bring in things from the past that like it's no longer you, or if you've already come to terms with, or you kind of fixed it. And then as soon as they don't have anything to say, they will bring up some, hard feelings about it. And it's just not productive. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, that's a funny thing. We have a few rules. I think that it really helps, our relationship in general. Like we talk about the unspoken rule, like I don't like when people, when I'm trying to help people and they say, he should know better or she should know better. What do you want to happen? Oh, he
Oh,
knows. He's married to me. He knows it already. He's been married to me. And I said, there's an idea that we think they know what we want, but if we don't actually say what we want, they won't know. And I know that you're expecting him to want it because you wanted last week, but maybe he thinks you only wanted it last week. It's like you have to be very specific about what it is that you want or that you don't. So we have these we talk about the unspoken rules, because unless you said it, you verbalized it that you want something, the other spouse does not have, the magical ball. They can't predict what you want. You have to ask. But, even in relationships, people are so afraid of asking of what the spouse from the other spouse, what they want. And they just go, they've been married to me. They know that this pisses me off. They shouldn't do it anymore, as if they did it on purpose, but it's really just who they are, so it's interesting.
my husband, my husband said to me really early on, he's like, I failed mind reading in high school.
I love
So
that.
I was like, yeah. Okay. If there's something that you want your spouse, or even this is any relationship, if there's something that you want your person to know, it is best to verbalize it. And it's not what you say, it's how you say it also. So there is a piece of this where you have to set the tone for how you want this to go. If you want to come into this discussion angry about you not getting something, or do you want to say it at a different tone and say, this is what I've been thinking. This is what's been weighing on my heart. this situation happened and, I was feeling hurt or I was feeling ignored or I was feeling whatever. And
Mhm.
at that point, that sets the table and again for a conversation back that isn't screaming. That is, thank you for telling me that. Or, I thought of this a different way. Was my perspective of this situation. Being able to have an adult conversation about a very difficult topic is not an easy thing to master, but it is worth the work in order to do that because you can go into something that is difficult easier than coming at it from an angry place. And most of
But
us,
sometimes it, yeah,
I'm
go
just
ahead.
saying most of us angry is the easiest emotion to start with.
Well, you're in the moment, right? In the
Right.
moment, you're angry, right? And so if you want to fix things while you're angry, anger is going to come out, right?
Sure.
So I mean, it's hard. It's harder to do that, right? Like I was such a screamer. It was so bad because I couldn't control my anger. It was always like, ah, like screaming, and my husband's very grounded. So he will just listen and take it. And it got to a point where I was like, I don't want you to. I want you to tell me that I'm screaming. Because in the moment, I'm so angry. I'm not going to stop myself. But if you say you're screaming, I don't want to talk to you right now, I will respect you.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of respect for him, but I know that I couldn't manage my anger. So I would have to tell him to tell me, don't allow this to happen, you know? And he got to a point, he wrote me a message one time. He's like, I have never heard of any woman go, you need to stop me. Like, he's like, it's really powerful what you're doing because you're trying to control yourself in a way because you don't want this to happen. But it's really humbling that you're telling me this is not okay, that I do it to you. Because almost the other way around, right? You say, you don't do that to me, but you're coming to me and saying, don't let me do anything to you. I
That's
respect you and you respect you. And I get angry at him sometimes, but then I get angry that he allowed me to get angry at him. I'm like, don't let it, like I love you. Like you need to tell me you're screaming. I don't want you to talk to me. You're screaming again. I don't want, you know what I mean? Because it's not okay. I don't care that I'm angry. It's not okay. And so I've been trying to like really pause me because in the moment it's so hard, right? Like you're in the anger and it's really, really hard. But then as soon as he says something, you're angry. Then I go, and I told him, didn't I? But at least, like I'm stopping. And then that went away with time. You know what I mean? But it was so bad. And I was like, I don't want this to be my relationship. And you're such a good person. Like because he's so grounded, but he would take it. I'm like, I don't want you to. That's not your job. Your
right.
job is to love you, and my job is to love me. I don't want to abuse this because I'm angry. Angry is normal, but I don't want it to take it on you. And so I had to like kind of guide him to stop me.
I love that. It's a beautiful, beautiful way to phrase this. But you had two people who were willing to learn from each other. The two of you, you were able to express and communicate and say, this is what I need from you. I know that I have an issue with anger. So I need you to signal. I need you to tell me when this is happening because sometimes I'm not aware. And so you are allowing each other to be aware in this moment. And that starts some, but again, two people are willing and having this communication is just so, so beautiful to see. I'm happy that that's the case for you guys.
Yeah, no, it was very important. And it's not that I didn't see it. I think people know when they're angry and when they're not being able to control themselves. It's just sometimes you don't, that is a tool. When you don't have the tools yourself to stop, you need another tool. And it was just another tool for me to stop, is for you to trigger me to stop, you
It was
know?
a reconditioning.
Yeah.
It was a tool for you to help with reconditioning. there's many things about, throughout this whole process that I was like, I need help when this is happening. If I was the one to always deflect, um, but in a way that was like, oh, you don't know what you're saying. Like, oh, it's not as bad as you think it is. Or, it's always like, always trying to put a less painful spin on what was going on. So I
Mhm.
would always minimize a situation. And when he brought it to me and said, "This is what you do when I bring you something. And I'm going to say you're doing this when you start doing this," because I wasn't aware of, like, I was aware that I did that, but I wasn't aware that it affected him in that way. So when he told me that that was the case, my response was, I need you to tell me when I'm doing this because I need to rewrite that conditioning. And it took some time, but now it's not, I'm present in the moment instead of going, I'm not going to minimize him because it is what he's feeling. That is his truth. I have mine, he has his, but to understand and come together and have an understanding of what each other's truth is and being appreciative that we have this space and we love each other for that. So this is more than just, this is where the best friend, you know, piece comes in, that you can be so good to a person and it be your spouse.
Mm.
And
So
that's
you,
that.
sorry,
No, go ahead.
you you have, well, four kids really.
I have 4 kids, yes.
So what would you tell them about what a good relationship is?
I wish I gave them an example when they were growing up. They're adults now.
Hmm.
Um, I wish I gave them an example of a good relationship then. Um, but I talk to them about it now. And it's pretty much what I've said today. And a lot of it is communication and providing the space to talk about things. And sometimes you're going to have to talk about some pretty hard things, but setting the table and the ground rules for your relationship, because everyone's going to have different rules. You have a set of rules to yours, so does mine. And it is things that you agree upon with each other. And what I would love for each of my children to have is the willingness and understanding that it isn't like a movie, that it takes work and you have to be present in the relationship and nurture it and want it to continue. If you want it to continue, you're going to have to put work. And that's it. I mean, you're just going to see that once you are aware of the other person in how they want the relationship, you could create anything together. You are co-creating this life experience together. And as long as you stay within your co-creation together, things are going to be good, even through the hard
Mm,
times.
yeah, that's a little bit, I mean, for me, I don't know. I heard recently, I don't know if you know them. They're huge on Instagram. It's like John and Alex. They're a couple and they're really funny. Um, I'll send it to you. I don't know
Yeah.
the name of but it's a couple that they make funny videos about relationships and relationships with their parents. Really, now they just had a baby girl, and now they do videos about the baby. But it used to be all about relationships, and it was really funny. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Um, and they have a podcast, and Alex was saying in the podcast how people say that relationships are hard. And she said, I think relationships are what makes us go through hardships. That's what makes it easy for us to go through hard times. I don't think relationship, like your relationship should be hard. It's actually the best thing about going through life with. Life is hard. Relationship, your romantic relationship should not be hard. But life is hard. So you have to have that person to go through life with. And I thought that was so beautiful. I was
It
like,
is.
she's right. Like relationship should not be hard. You would know when it's the right person, when that person's actually making your life easier. And when you're making that other person's life better as opposed to harder, that's when you know that you're in a really good relationship,
Yeah.
And so when you're, I don't know, I can't, like I thought that was such a beautiful way of putting it
It is a
because
beautiful way of putting it, because you're right, life can sometimes be very, very difficult. But if you know that you have a partner in life to go
Mhm.
through it with you, um, it just makes you stronger. You can link arms with someone, you could, go through the difficult times together, lean on each other. There's a lot of things that I see, but one that resonated a lot with me was there's this couple and in different pictures of how they're together, sometimes they're each at 100%. Sometimes one person's at 20%, one person's at 80%, one person's at 10%, one person's at 110%. Like they each some days we show up, and we're not all there, but being able to know each other enough to know when one needs more and then the other needs more, and to nurture each other in this growth. When you hit this age, and for me, not, and I know we spoke about in other episodes, like when I no longer was an active mother, like with my children here, and I had an empty nest situation. Um, I felt like I needed to know that I'm going through this difficult time, this emotional thing, this, that I had someone had my back, that I can feel or emote in a way, um, and him, me, when it came up, that we would be each other's support, and it's a beautiful thing that we have, and I enjoy it immensely, that I know that some days we both have 0%. And in those days, there's nothing better than to just crash together.
Mm,
We could
that's
just,
what, that's actually Brene Brown that says that. Brene
yeah.
Brown talks about that, like
I just
how
started
if
following her, but I didn't see that. But
yeah, no, she has a whole topic on that. That sometimes she is not that there is no such thing as 100%. Sometimes you come in and you're both at 20%, and then what happens?
yeah,
And then you have to have this conversation about like what can your 20% do today?
right. Yeah,
And that's it. And be each other, support even when we cannot be each other's support.
yeah,
At least communicating, this is where I'm at. Yeah, that's definitely Brene Brown. Yeah, she talks about how they come together as a team and say, how much are you today? How much? Because
yeah,
that's how much
yeah,
I am.
yeah. Yeah, no,
You know,
thank you
there you
for
go.
pointing that out. I mean, I just started following her, but I mean, I think that as long as you have these conversations and being able to be vulnerable in a safe environment, to be vulnerable and know that your partner is going to support you, um, is priceless. Being able to come to a difficult conversation and say, I'm feeling this way, or you pissed me off because you did this, 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 and this, or, and to be able to go, all right, I'm listening to what you have to say. Let's talk this through.
Mhm.
Is coming to any conversation with a negative energy like anger or resentment, or it only breeds and fosters more.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's great that we
We
we're in such.
covered a lot today. We covered a lot. But
I know.
relationships, I mean, we can do a lot on relationships for sure, because there's a lot
Yeah.
of nuances.
Yeah. No, but this is a great way to start, right? Like I think, for me, what I wanted was really control. I think that's what I wanted in the beginning is control.
Yeah.
And what I have now is freedom, which is the
Beautiful.
complete opposite of control. And it's a beautiful place to be,
Yeah.
is to know that you don't have to have control, you know.
There is a freedom in not having the control or feeling like you have to control everything. So that's a beautiful thing. Yeah, for me, my definition of love has changed. Um, but having the unconditional love of my husband is what I love the most. That I can
Mhm.
come to him with anything and that we can have this. I unconditionally love this man. You know, we have been through a lot, and and to be able to say that I there's not a thing in the same way that I unconditionally love my children, you know, there's such a large love that I can provide to to them, you know, and they accept it is beautiful. So,
Yeah. How long have you guys been together now?
um, back together 16 years.
That's beautiful.
Um, I know, and we have been married since 2018. So we've definitely have done this not the traditional way, but it is our way. And
That's beautiful. Okay, so you guys started dating in 2009?
we met in, yes, we started it in 2009, yeah.
Okay, that's same time that my husband and I.
See?
Well, really, 2008, like December, so Christmas 2008, he asked me to be his girlfriend, but we've been married for 14 years.
Hmm.
Yeah. We got married in 2011, but he asked me to be his girlfriend on Christmas 2008. So
2008, it was a big turning year for the whole universe, but I think I think that this is it. Yeah, 2009, for sure. Um,
that's so funny. See,
yeah.
we're so different and yet like we align in a lot of things. I can't wait to
Mm.
meet him. Hopefully we can make something happen because I
Yes,
know we're
we need to for sure.
across the coasts, but it would be nice for us to be able to do that.
Loved this episode.
Likewise, talking about husband, he's walking in.
Okay. Hi,
I don't know. I don't know if he wants to make an appearance to this podcast. Do you want to make an appearance? It's completely up to you.
hi.
We're at the end, so I think it's
We're
okay. Is it
saying
okay with you,
goodbye.
Marina?
Say again.
Is it okay with you, or
Of course it's okay with me.
it's totally up to? Okay, this is episode 4, and this is my husband,
Hi,
Joe.
nice to meet
Hey,
you.
I've heard you a lot.
Oh,
He listens to our
I
podcast,
love
so
that. Do you like it? How do you
For
think?
sure. It's good.
Oh,
It's
good.
authentic. It's good. I love it.
Thank you. Very
For
nice
sure.
to meet you.
Yeah, likewise.
If my
And see
husband was here, I'd
you
have him meet you, but he's
life.
not, unfortunately.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, I'm interested to hear this little rendition.
yeah, this is on
This is
relationships,
gonna be a
so
good one.
Uh-oh.
you wait.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We
So
can't
much.
wait to see you next time. Thank you so much, Marina. Mwah.
Mwah. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.